Hi guys, Stu here with a new video. In this video we're going to talk about Arms Warrior, and they have again a few changes on the PTR. I want to talk about the blade build because they changed a few things on the blade build. I'm going to try to remove a bit of the sound because we are in a sort of a war zone kind of again, so the sound is quite high. Effects needs to be 10 or 5 and we're good to go. So they changed a few things. I'm going to show you guys on the PTR notes, and you see warrior, they got a few changes, but mostly arms, where you have skull splitter now causes deep wounds to bleed out more quickly for a short duration, and it was expire instantly. So it means that you have still the benefits of deep wounds whenever you're going to use skull splitter, and it doesn't get removed instantly, which again makes for the rotation a bit more how can I say, more fluid. That I think that's the best word I can describe it. Because whenever I did skull splitter and removed every single bleed I had on the enemy, it felt like again I have to reapply deep wounds, which effectively it's with a more strike, for example. And the issue is that you're not going to get the benefit from deep wounds, the mastery, since you have to reapply it first. So it's a bit dumb in that sense, so that is fixed. Tide of Blood now also causes your rend on the target to bleed out 100% faster for 10 seconds. So again, it's not going to remove rend on the target, but it's going to take faster, so it's also again going to be smoother overall. So I think it's also a good thing. They also nerfed the ignore pain contribution from anger management, tactician, and test of might. So it means that again you will not have CD recovery with ignore pain, so it's a bit annoying. We have some slam buffs, so I'm going to also test it with you guys on this video. I still think that slam is not worth to press, and especially since they nerfed even the slam builds that you could have gone if it was something that you would go for. So unfortunately, again, 10%. Why would you even take that talent anymore? But I guess if you want to make slam work, you still have to take that talent, but whatever. And all ability damage increased by 6%. And then you have like some changes for the PvP side of things, where they added some things, like for example Safeguard, which is a new PvP talent where you're going to have 2 charges of Intervene, which is quite nice, but the cooldown is increased by 10 seconds. And then you have also another PvP talent, which is a great talent to take, by the way, Battlefield Commander. So your shout abilities have additional effects. So whenever you're going to have a battle shout, it will also increase your stamina by 3%. I think it also applies to other allies, if I'm not mistaken. Parsing Hall roots target hit for 2 seconds, which is always nice. So you would not get killed like every single time. Berserker shot range increased by 8 yards. You're not really playing that much that, but if you're playing that, you will have an easier time to cancel a fear or incap on your allies. Intimidating shout cooldown reduced by 15 seconds, so that's a neat thing to have for a extra CC potential that you could have as a warrior. Rallying Cry will remove movement impairing effects and also grant 30% movement speed to allies, which is also yourself. You can also see that as conch banner from Shadowlands with Necrolords. And Thunderous Roar will also give 5% more damage from all sources while bleeding, which is a good thing to have. So I think this PvP taunt will be a very good PvP taunt to take. I don't think it's a PvP taunt that you will take every single occasion, because I think this arm is still very potent versus melees. But if you have a choice to make, you could always take Battlefield Commander. And Storm of Destruction has been redesigned, so basically the same, reduced CD, but you also snare all targets you hit by 70% for 8 seconds, which is huge. 70% is a lot, like it's Chain of Ice a lot. So it's going to be quite neat, especially since people do tend to run away quite easily. But if you're hit by a Blaze Storm, you will get slowed by 8 seconds, by 70% for 8 seconds. So it's actually very huge. Now let's talk about the PTR stuff. I'm gonna test with you guys. So we're playing with this build currently. You don't see because of my camera, but we took every single talent from Thunderous Roar. So we have also Thunderous Words and also Uproar, which is going to reduce the CT by 30 seconds. And you also have Blade Master's Torment, which is basically going to apply Blade Storm or Avatar if you're using Avatar or Blade Storm, pretty much. Because we are playing with Hurricane, every time you're going to do Blaze Storm, it's going to increase your strength, so effectively will increase your overall damage by a lot. The only thing that we kind of have to sacrifice is probably Sharpened Blades and also Executioner's Precision, which is like both of them are very, very fan favorites talents of mine. I really like to have more damage on my Mortal Strike, but it's nerfed in PvP anyways. Sharpened Blades, I think it's 5%. So it's not that great, and Executioner's Precision is also nerfed in PvP. So again, if you can maybe go for something else, like for example the bleed build that I'm going right now, then I think it's alright. Again, we have to test a lot of things. So Rend, again, you don't really press Rend too much because you have Thunderclap, and if you can Thunderclap, it's better to do that because it will add AoE Rend, but they buffed the overall damage of Rend, so I might just as well just put it on my bars. I'm going to put it instead of Thunderclap because we are not really doing AoE right now. But Thunderclap, again, if you have like Blood and Thunder, you should really use it if you want to reapply Rend on everyone. But we're not going to play that, so I'm going to remove it for sake of the video. I'm going to put a point into okay, I'm gonna put second wind, I don't care. So we're going to test Rend and how it feels, deep wounds, how it feels. We have the damage done, like the details, so we'll have to test a lot and see if it's going to be meaningful, but overall I think it's a meaningful thing if you want to play like a dot build. We have currently pretty much the same haste and mastery and a bit of crit because of the 5 set actually, and also just the overall PvP set that we have, 489 by the way. And yeah, we're going to test it right now. So the 4 set kind of pushes you towards Rend, by the way, because Rend damage increased by 30%, so you kind of want to Rend now at all times, but you already do that because of either Thunderclap or Rend, or also with your talent, which is Bloodletting. If you are more striking someone that is below 35% health, you're going to apply Rend directly, so it's something that you also have for free pretty much. But it also can be triggered by Rend's bleed damage, so sudden death will be triggered by Rend's bleed damage. Of course it is a chance buy, it's not every single time, but it does proc a lot, so you have a lot of execute damage, and that's why I'm thinking myself like, why not play around the execute build? But we can maybe test around that. Sudden death also makes your next execute powerfully slam the ground, causing a thunderclap that deals 50% increased damage in PvP. So if I'm going to go do that, I'm not in PvP combat, I guess. I don't get in combat run. Okay, now we have. It's not written for some reason, but I'm pretty sure it's nerfed in PvP. It's not written, but it's nerfed in PvP, so it would be 15% in Rend damage and 50% Thunderclap damage increased, and also 25% dot damage on the execute that you get from the sudden death. And it's a bleed damage again, so it's going to be increased with Thunderous Roar, and every single damage that you're going to apply from the execute from sudden death will be added on the remaining damage that is currently on your target. So I'm going to go for the PvP trading dummy, and I'm going to do my rotation again. So what we want to do is a Mortal Strike. We for sure want to have my bleeds up. And what you want to do is Colossus Smash into Thunderous Roar into Avatar with a Blade Storm, and then you can just burst pretty much. Skull Splitter, and you can just continue. And since you have Skull Splitter now, you can just reapply Rend without losing value. So that's actually very big. I really like that. Again, we did like a mini burst. I should have Blaze Storm probably a bit more with just Blaze Storm pretty much. But you see the damage again. Thunderous Roar, you should not like count, like it will not do that much damage because of AoE. But on the PvP training dummy, we did like 368k. Our Rend did a lot of damage, to be honest. It didn't crit, unfortunately. Deep Wounds did also some good damage. But again, it's Deep Wounds. It's also even lower in PvP as a whole. I think with versatility and other damage reduction, it's not going to be super impressive. More Strike is actually hitting for a lot, 136k. It didn't crit. If it did crit, it would be probably around 200k, 220k, depending on how crit works. Overpower did a lot of damage. Blaze Storm did actually also a lot of damage, 61k crit. Which is always welcome, and Execute did 108k. Did we get? Yeah, we got Finishing Wound. So that is the Execute damage that you get from the Sudden Death proc. Whenever you're going to do an Execute or the Thunderclap from the Forset, you're going to apply a Finishing Wound with your Execute, and that is pretty much 25%, like I said, of the damage from your Execute. So you see, Execute did 108k and your dot did 27.2k. So like I said, the tooltips is bugged. It should be 25% of Execute's damage over 5 seconds. And the Thunderclap is also a 50% increase. But it did some alright damage. It's 94k. So again, the damage is not to be underestimated. So I'm going to do it right now again. So I'm going to do it way faster without explaining. So let's go. So that base one was very long. You see, your Thunderclap can actually just proc. It's very strong, to be honest. So the damage is very high. It is very, very high, and should not be underestimated for sure. Overpower did at 178k, so that's impressive. For a filler, it's not a filler. It's a builder, right? But it's a very strong builder. Our More Strike did at 207k. Again, in PvP it will be reduced or it will be higher because of like modifiers or whatnot. Again, we don't have enchants on the character either. Our Execute did 165k crits, and you see our Finishing One did in total of 85k, and those were for 2 Executes. So you see 239k. 25% of that should be around Finishing Wound damage, 85k. So it is correct what I said. Thunderclap did alright damage. It is not impressive damage, but if it does crit, it adds up. If you have an Execute of 100k and you do a 45k Thunderclap plus the dot, it is a lot of value, to be honest, with just one Forset. So my prediction is you're going to for sure go for the Forset every single time with Arms Warrior. You should also go for it whenever you're playing Fury, by the way, so that's also a thing. And yeah, I think overall all good about Arms Warrior. I think it is much better than previous season. It's way more fun too, because whenever you're pressing like the sudden death proc. So I'm going to do it right now real quick. If you're doing the sudden death proc, it is actually very satisfying. So you see, whenever I'm going to do one Execute, boom, it does a lot of damage. And I'm going to just step away. Execute did 102k, and Thunderclap did 90k. So basically it adds a lot of damage whenever it crits. And if it's not critting, it's adding 50% more damage on the Execute pretty much. So you see 100k, it did a 50k Thunderclap normal hit, and if it's critting, it's around 90k. So it adds 50% more damage on your Execute. If your Execute crits and your Thunderclap crits, it is like game over for the guy in front of you. The dot is, it's not that cool, I would say. The good thing about the foresight is probably the thunderclap that goes with the execute. I guess the dot will ramp up higher if you are using multiple sudden death procs, multiple times you're going to fight versus the enemy, and it goes on, and the dot will be higher and higher. But I still think it's only 2% of the damage, like overall. If you're like doing a whole rotation for 1 minute, it's only going to be around 2 or 3% of that dot damage. But overall, the thunderclap is really the best thing out there. I think if you are going to have fun with this build, you should probably look forward to playing Arms Warrior. I think right now you could play Arms Warrior with different builds in different ways. I think that's a fun thing to have. I do think that they should buff like the non-bleed builds, but they kind of want you to play around bleeds. So, and Skull Splitter is feeling way better right now, way better. So if you're looking forward to use Skull Splitter again, I would highly recommend playing Arms Warrior going into 10.2. I think it's a huge opportunity for you to have fun, first and foremost, and also to feel how it was supposed to be in Season 1 and Season 2. I think Skull Splitter in Season 1 and Season 2 was barely used, and whenever it was used, it was actually very, very, how can I say, clunky. And right now, I feel like it's way better. It comes, again, way better together, and it is just a great thing to have. Finishing wound, like I said, it's only 1%. Like it's even lower than what I said. Execute is always going to be low on a dummy because they are never low, so you don't get a lot of executes like without sudden death procs. Also, if you're like spreading those bleeds out with rent, I think you get more sudden doom procs. The issue is, again, I'm not sure about that. It could be that it's a proc per minute kind of thing, so overall you're not going to have a lot of value on it. We'll have to see. Oh, actually, it does proc a lot more right now, and I have multiple going right now. I don't know. We'll have to test it in PvP. I don't know what does. We'll have to test in PvP, to be honest. But there is a way to have like insane damage as a Arms Warrior, and I think you guys should look forward to playing Arms Warrior in 10.2. So the video, again, it's not really short, but I try to showcase what Arms Warrior can do in 10.2. Unfortunately, PvP situations are very rare on PTR because there's just simply no players, or whenever I'm trying to gather players, they are all PvEers that are actually screaming that PvP is bad, which is just not the case. I think PvP is fantastic. And I want to showcase really quickly the damage of Slam. I think it's going to be quite sad, but I'm going to still showcase it. So what's the best way to showcase? I'm going to remove that point there. I'm going to I need the points there as well, so I'll have to sacrifice a few points. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to I just want to showcase, right? So I don't care. I'm going to remove that. Normally you should really keep bursting howl, but I want to showcase the damage, and for this instance we're going to remove this one. I'm going to put there, and we'll have to see if it's going to add any good damage onto the enemy. I simply do not think. So I'm going to try to get the best possible damage possible on the enemy. So I'm gonna do a Avatar Blaze Storm into a Colossus Smash, Thunderous Roar, Colossus Smash, and then a Slam. Spam. The issue with that, again, I'm talking from a position where I think you're not going to spam Slam regardless, because now I didn't press more strike. So it can seem like it's okay damage, but you should remember it's physical. So first and foremost, armor is going to be reducing that damage. Versatility is going to reduce that damage. You have modifiers on it, but you have to spend around 4 talent points to get to that point, which is a lot, but also it's a filler. It doesn't bring a more strike behind it. It doesn't bring a rage regeneration. It's just, if you have too much rage, you're pressing slam. But if you have too much rage, you should press ignore pain. It's a 11-second CD. Okay, after the CD is gone, what do you press? Always you will have to press overpower before slam, because overpower overall does just the same damage or better, and it builds towards something. So that's my issue currently. And you see, like, if I'm just pressing slam without, let's say, I'm going to get a Colossus Smash at least. If I have slam and I'll just press slam with a Colossus Smash with a deep wounds effect, it is not impressive, while overpower does the same damage, but it builds upon my Mortal Strike. So I feel like you should disregard slam overall. I feel like if you have the time to press slam, often not you have the time to press overpower, or you have the time to press ignore pain, or you have the time to reapply your bleeds, or even thunderclap. And I feel like in general you do not want to press slam, but that's my opinion. Just do not play around slam. Just try to play around the good things of the build, which is effectively playing around the thunderclap build, pretty much with bleeds, like AoE bleeding people. You could also just like use Frothing Berserk if you have like rage problems. I don't think you have rage problems in PvP anyways, but you can see that there is a world where you can play with slam, but this world is just too far away from the reality of PvP. I think in reality PvP arenas or BGs, pressing slam is a useless GCD where you're going to do kind of the same damage of an overpower, but with a lot more efforts, with a lot more sacrifices. I feel like you just press more strike, Colossus Smash, rend, thunderclap, overpower, skull splitter, everything, and then you can consider about slam if you have nothing else to press, which is ideally never going to happen. But that is my opinion. Overall, positives, I think the bleed builds is way more fun currently than before, so I would suggest you guys to play Arms Warrior in 10.2. The slam kind of shenanigans, just ignore it. Everything that is going to be written with slam on a PTR note or a patch note, just straight ignore it. If people say that slam becomes worth it right now, just refer to this video, because this is not going to be the case. Especially since you have to think about armor, you got to think about damage reduction, versatility. It's not going to be applied for PvP. I think in PvE, there's maybe a world where you're going to slam, but in PvP you're not going to do that. Overall, I think it's a huge good thing for Arms Warrior to stay how they are right now, because they're not going to be OP, but they're going to be in a great spot in arenas. I think in BGs, again, I made a tier list about it. The carry potential is not very high because it is just how the BGs work, but you can have a clear defined role in SOLOQ RPGs where you're going to carry games because of how you are and how you play, but I don't think you're going to carry games because of the spec, but that's a whole other discussion. But overall, fun-wise, I think it's way more fun right now than in 10.1 or in 10.0. 10.0 was also very fun with crit stacking, but I mean, some people didn't like it, but I did like it. But I think 10.2 is the final form of Arms Warrior. I do wish that they buffed the right side of the equation, where you want to play around more strike, execute and such, but we'll have to see. Maybe there's a world where you play with Juggernaut now. Actually, there's a world where you could play with execute spamming because of sudden death, but that's, again, the video will be way too long. I might make a video about it if I test it. I feel like it's worth talking about it. But I think overall, Rend, Skull Splitter, Deep Wounds, they feel way better. Although the damage is quite similar, it just feels way better, just in general. Thunderous Roar is going to be way more useful right now because of how the bleeds work, how you have now Battlefield Commander effectively giving you a 5% boost on your damage whenever you're using it. And it's overall damage, not only on your bleeds, but also on your Mortal Strike. I think it's still going to be interesting to play Blade Monster Storms with a Hurricane, but I might make a video, like a guide video, once we are very close to 10.2. Again, the guides are going to come out once we have a clear way of the patch notes and how they're going to modify some specs. I think they're going to do it this week and next week, and I think then they're going to tune numbers. But we'll have to see. But again, thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and we will catch each other probably very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.